All right. So congruent figures. Well, we know what congruent means. Okay, you even know the symbol for congruent. What was the symbol for congruent? Do you remember that?
Like equal sign.
Equal sign with a little squiggly, right? So it's an equal sign with a little squiggle on top. That means what? Congruent. All right. Up to this point, I've kind of been a little slack with you guys. So like if I said two things were congruent to each other. So if I said like AB is congruent to 5, or you could have said the length of line segment AB is congruent to 5. I would let you say that. I would just let you put an equal sign. This is actually okay to put an equal sign right there. But I was okay. I didn't really care if you put a congruent sign or you put an equal sign. But what we're doing right now, I am going to be very picky on that, okay? You are going to put a congruent sign for what we're going to be doing today. All right, it's very, very important that you do that. All right, whoops. I'll just keep that there. All right, so that's the first thing, the congruent sign. Now, what does it mean to be a congruent figure? All right, well, congruent figures have two things that are true. Congruent figures have the same size, okay, and they have the same shape. All right, so if you have a figure, geometric figure, okay, could be a rectangle, could be a triangle, could be an octagon, whatever it is, okay? In order for them to be congruent to each other, they got to have the exact same size and they have to have the same exact shape. They got to fit on top of each other, okay? Exactly. So let's get a polygon. I don't know. What's your favorite polygon? A pentagon? Anybody like pentagons? You like hexagons better? All right, we'll put a hexagon. So, all right, there's your hexagon. And watch this. I'm going to copy and paste it. Everybody look at this. Let's pay attention. Shh. Everybody's watching. If I could grab this thing and move it, there we go. Look at this. Now, I copied and pasted it, all right? So guess what happens on a computer program when you copy and paste it? It makes what? The same exact thing, all right? So what do you think might be true about these two figures right here? They would be what? Yeah, give me a word. Congruent, right? That's the word. That's the lesson, okay? It's congruent. These two would be congruent. We would not say that they're equal to each other, all right? I mean, if you said they were equal, I kind of know what you mean, right? But let's use the correct word, okay? That would be congruent. That means if I took this one, I picked it up, and I put it right on top of the other one, it would match up exactly the same. Everybody see that? So that means they have the same what? Size and the same shape. Okay, what if I did this? Here's something when you're dealing with computer programs with desktop publishing kind of capabilities. If you hit the shift key, now watch, everybody watch. If I hit the shift key and hit a corner, see what it's doing? It's making it the same shape. It's the same exact shape, but are they congruent to each other? No, they're not. Okay, they have the same shape, but look, they won't fit right on top of each other, will they? All right, they don't have the same size exactly right. Everybody see that? So these are not congruent even though they have the same exact shape, right? What if I did this and I like extended it out like that? Now they don't have the same what? Shape, all right? They don't have the same shape. So even though the size, right, the top and the bottom are the same, now the size did increase that way, but they don't have the same shape right there, see, right, or size. So these are definitely not congruent to each other, all right? I don't know. What's another thing I could do to this? That's about it, all right? So those are congruent figures, all right? It's really important that you do that. All right, let's do another. What's this thing? It's a circle, okay? How would I know? Now, let me say this. I should have said this. If these are congruent to each other, what must be true about I'll tell you what, let's not even make it. Yeah, let's do this. Let's just make this, I'm going to extend it out just so it's not a what we call a regular polygon. But I am going to copy and paste it though. So what's true about these two figures? They're give me a word, not both the same. They're congruent to each other. Very good. They're congruent to each other, which means if this side would be equal to this one right here. You see it? This one right here would be equal to this one. This one would be equal to this one. This one. All right, we'll just keep going. This one, and that's one, and that's one. Everybody see that? So all those things would match up. What else matches up? Not just the lengths of the sides, but the what? The angles. That's right. So this angle would equal this angle. This angle would equal this one. Now, this is not the same as that, so I'm going to put a 2 arc there. So those would be the same. These would be the same. Okay, this one and this one would be the same, and this one would be the same. Everybody got that? Okay, so if all the sides are equal to each other and all the angles are equal to each other, then guess what's true about those two figures? They would be what? They would be congruent. Not equal. What's the word? Congruent. All right? How many times do we have to say that? Congruent. Apparently, at least one more. All right. Everybody with me on that? All right. Let's talk about circles now. Now, how do I know? I'm going to copy and paste. So guess what's true about both of these circles? They're congruent to each other. Now, I don't have angles, though, do I? I don't have sides. Okay? What do I have on a circle that would indicate that they're congruent to each other? Well, it's the same. The shape. Well, all circles have the same shape, but they don't have the same size, though, do they? All right. So let's do this. Let's put a little dot right there. Let's put. You got 2 minutes. Okay. So we've got this. What is that point right there in the middle? It's not called the middle. I think we've mentioned. Have we talked about this before? Can't remember. It was this class or my other class. I don't know, but we call this the center of the circle, okay? And what do if I draw a line segment from the center to anywhere on that circle, any idea what that's called? That little length right there? Starts with an R. You learned this before in your other classes. What is it? A radius, yes. Is that what you said? Yeah, a radius, very good. Everybody's heard that word, haven't you? That's the radius of the circle. How do I know that's the radius? It goes from the... Okay, we don't call it the middle. What do we call it? The center. Okay? It goes from the center of the circle to any point on the circle at all. It doesn't matter where on the circle. Okay? It doesn't make any difference. So I could put this right here. If these circles are congruent, what's true about their radius? They're exactly the same. So whatever the length of that is, and if that length of the circle is the same, then these circles are what? Congruent. Very good. Now we're getting used to that word. All right? So now these circles will be congruent to each other if they have the same radius. We good? All right. Let's do another one. Let's talk triangles. We're mostly going to talk triangles when we talk about congruent figures. Okay? So let's talk triangles right now. Still a lot of talking going on. Well, not a lot, but more than I want. Okay, there we go. And I am going to, guess what I'm going to do to this? Copy and what? Paste. All right. Do you know how to do that on a computer? What is it? Control C and then Control V. V is in Victor, okay? It's not P. Why is it not Control P? Control P is print for the most part, okay? Almost every program that you'll ever use, Control P means to print, okay? All right, so let's do this. Let's call this ABC. Take a wild guess what I'm going to call this one. DEF. Yeah, I guess I could be more creative, but that's okay. Now, if these triangles are congruent to each other, everybody listen. This is important, okay? This is the first step to what we're going to be doing in the next several lessons. It's the very first step, okay? If these are congruent to each other, then what do I know about AB and a side over here? If AB would be equal to what? Would be equal to what over here? DE. No, not 180. There's no degrees. Okay? So if this line segment right here had one tick mark, then ED, because this matches up over here, doesn't it? Okay? You can see which ones match up. I drew this as easy as I possibly could. What if I put 2 tick marks here? Where would I put 2 tick marks on the other one? At what? Give me letters. EF, right. And what if I put 3 right here? Then DF would have 3. Right with me? Okay. What if this had one arc? What's going to have one arc over here? Angle D. Why? Because angle A is going to equal what? Angle D. Okay. What if I put 2 tick marks here? E. And if I put 3 here, then F. Now, let me show you something. This is what we're trying to get at today. Okay, this is the big thing that I want you to see today. If these triangles are congruent to each other, okay, which they are, because all the lengths, here's a word for you, all the corresponding lengths. You've heard that word before, right? Corresponding. They're the ones that match up with each other. What is corresponding to AB over here? DE, right? Everybody see that? What's corresponding to BC over here? EF. What's corresponding to AC? DF. Everybody got that? Okay. Same thing with the angles. Angles are easy. What's corresponding to angle A over here? Angle D. Angle B? Angle E. Look, the F doesn't correspond with that. It's not in the same spot. The E is. Look, angle B and angle E are in the same spot. Angle C and angle F. Okay, you got it. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to write our first triangle congruence statement. You hear what I said? Yay. Alani's very excited about it. All right, we call this a congruence statement. And it's very important that you know which ones match up. When you write our congruence statement, it makes a difference. Okay, I will mark it wrong if you don't write the congruent statement so that the equal things match up with each other. All right? Do you remember in the past, I could always say, I could call this triangle ABC, or I could call it BCA or CAB. It didn't matter what order you called that triangle, okay? And it doesn't matter what order you call this triangle. I could have called it EDF. I could have called it EFD, FDE. It doesn't matter. But when you do congruent triangles, it absolutely matters what matches up with what. So the first one, I could call it anything. Well, as long as I use A, B, and C. Okay, I could call it ABC. I could call it BCA. I could call it BAC. It doesn't matter. But it will matter what I call the second one. You got to make sure that the stuff matches up. Do I have everybody's attention now? Ben, you don't have any idea how important what I'm doing right here is, because you wouldn't be acting a fool if you did understand. All right? So I want you to pay attention, because I want you to understand it. I want you to succeed. I'm not just trying to get you to be good little boys and girls. That's not my point. Okay, my point is that you can understand this stuff so you can succeed in here. That's what I want you to do. And you're just fighting against it. You're fighting me. All right? Don't do that. I'm trying to help you here. So, this triangle right here, I could call it whatever. ABC, BCA, whatever. Okay? Let's just call it ABC just to make it easy. Okay? So, if I call this triangle ABC, I'm going to write it's congruent to triangle. Now, here's the key. Here is the key. You got to make sure that the angles match up with the angles over here. So if I used A first over here, what do I have to write first over here? I have to write D first. You have to. If you don't, I'm marking it wrong. Everybody hear it? Okay. B was second. So if B was second, what's going to be second over here? E. Good. And then C and F. They have to go together. Because when you look at it, you know what sides are equal. Look at this. AB, side AB is equal to what? Side DE. Without even looking at the picture, you can look at this congruent statement and see which sides are equal to each other. Does that make sense? Side BC is equal to what? side EF. Just by the congruent statement, you can see which ones are equal to each other. If I mixed up the letters, you wouldn't be able to tell what sides are equal to each other. You see the importance of doing that? All right? It's very, very important that you write your congruent statement so everything matches up. All your corresponding parts, your angles and your sides, they got to match up. You could have, remember I said you could have called ABC anything as long as you used A, B, and C? Let's call it something else. Let's call this something else. What would it call it? CBA? We just went backwards. Let's go BAC. BAC. Now, here's what's important. You could call it triangle BAC. It's perfectly fine. You don't always have to go in alphabetical order, okay? I could call that first one whatever I wanted with those 3 letters. But the second one has to match up with the first one. So the B has to match up with the what? With the E. So this time we're going to write the E first. The A matches up with the D. So the D's got to go next. The C matches up with the F. So the F has to go next. So either one of these is perfectly fine. All right? I could not do this. Watch. Don't even write this down because that's going to, I don't even want to confuse you. Watch. What if I said triangle ABC is congruent to triangle, DFE? Now, is this triangle ABC? Yes. Is this triangle DFE? Yes. But do these things match up? The A and the D match up, right? But does the B and the F match up? No, they don't. All right? So do not write it like this. If you wrote it like this, I would mark that wrong. Okay? All right, we only got about halfway through this lesson. So I'll officially assign the lesson tomorrow. If you wanted to start on it just to get a head start, feel free. But today, finish up 4.1a and 4.1b. All right, make sure that's done for tomorrow. I will collect that tomorrow.